Okay, fine. So now there will be another case. So we may require all the values for our program. So here we have iterated the specific value. So how we have iterated the specific value in the sense with the help of the intents. So in few cases we may need to iterate the all values. We may require all the values, which means like we need to iterate the all values like followed by the 45, 78, 90 and 23. And how we are going to iterate all the values in the sense with the help of the next concept in Java called as an loops. So we are having three types of loop. So one we call it as an for loop, while loop and do while loop. So what is the need of the loop in the sense? So like wherever the repetitive action comes into the picture, so the loop will play a role. So the repetitive action in the sense, so here inside this A array, we are going to iterate the the 45, 78, 90 and 23, which means like here we are doing the repetitive action. So whenever the repetitive action so comes into the picture, so we need to use the loop. So in today's session, like we are going to discuss upon the loop called as an for loop. So the syntax of the for loop is like, so we should use the keyword called as an for, followed by the initialization, okay, and then we need to provide the condition, and then we need to provide an increment, and then like we need to provide the block, we need to create the block for the for loop. So this is the syntax. So we should use the keyword called as an for, followed by we need to initialize the value, and then we need to provide the condition, and then like we need to provide the increment operator. So like how the if else if work in the similar way, so the loop is going to be work. So we always provide a condition. When the condition is true, okay, so this particular for block will execute. If the condition is false, then it will terminate the loop. So the loop will execute one and only if the boolean value, which is nothing but the condition, is true. So if the condition is false, so it will terminate the loop. So let's say, so here I'm having, okay, so I'm creating the integer array. Let's say it is like 45, 34 and 78. So I need to iterate all the values from this integer array. So how I'm going to iterate in the sense with the help of the loop. I'm using the keyword called as an for, and you can initialize any value. So let's say I'm initializing, so int k is equal to 0. Okay, so I have initialized few value called as an k is equal to 0. And in order to loop to work, we need to set a condition. So like how we are going to set the condition in the sense, so based upon the uh, number of values which are available in the A array. So let's say I'm just setting the condition like k, okay, less than, so how many, what is the length of it? So the length of it will be like kind of an 3. So on how we can calculate the length in the sense, like I can say a dot length. So I'm just giving, so a dot length, and then I'm going to use the increment operator. So generally plus plus indicates the increment operator, and minus minus indicates the decrement. So plus plus indicates it's an increment operator, okay, and minus minus will indicates the decrement operator. So increment in the sense during every run it will add plus 1. So when we use the decrement operator, so it will subtract minus 1. Okay, it will subtract the 1. So if it is of an increment, it will add the 1. If it is of a decrement, it will subtract the 1. And then so here what is the value we are going to increment in the sense, so whatever the value which we have initialized, so we are going to increment the same. I'm just giving it as an k plus plus, and then like we are creating the block for the for loop. So now what happened, so whenever the program execute, So the value of k will be 0. So which means like in this case, just a minute, I will just structurize. Okay. So in this case, so the k will be 0. So now it will be like kind of an, so 0 less than 4. So in this case, like what happened, obviously, right, 0 is less than 4. I think less than symbol is this, right? Okay, so I'm just going to check whether the 0 less than 4. So in this case, so 0 less than 4, so the condition is true. So whenever the condition is true, it will come inside the for block. So inside the for block, so just I'm adding one sysout statement. So where I'm going to print the A array, and in which like I'm just pausing the the index value as k. So now as we have initialized as the k, so it will step into the loop, and here it will be like a of 0. So now a of 0 indicates it is going to be a 45. It will print the 45. And during the next run, what happened? So this increment operator will add plus 1 to the initialized value. So which means, so the 0 plus 1, it will become a 1. So now it will check the condition once again. So now 1, okay, so length is 3 here. So 1 less than 3. So again the condition is true. So as the condition is true, so it will step into the for block, and now in the print statement, so in the place of k, so it will pass the value as 1, because like the value of k has been changed because the increment operator has added plus 1. And what is the value which is present in the first index? It is 34, and it will print the 34. And now again the loop will run. So during each and every run of the loop, so the increment operator will add plus 1 to the initialized value. So now this 1 will become 2. So 1 plus 1, it will be 2, and again it will check for the condition. So 2 less than 3. So now the condition is true. So as it is true, it will step into the block, and in this place now the index value will be pausing as a 2. So now as the index value is 2, it will print the output as an 78. So now the loop will run again. So now it will increase the k value by plus 1. So 2 plus 1, it will become 3, and it will check for the condition. So 3 less than 3. So now if we see here, the condition will become false. So as it is of an false, so now the loop will terminate. Okay, because like 2 is equal to 2, but here it is giving but it says the invalid conditions. So then it will become the false, then the loop will be terminate. So which means like initially, so we are initializing the value, and post that like we are checking the condition, and if the condition is true, we are executing the for block. Okay, and pose that during the next run, so the increment operator is just executing the increment value, and pose that we are again checking the condition. If the condition is true, it is going to execute the for block, and during the next run, so again the increment operator will execute, and it will check for the condition. If the condition is true, it will execute the for block, or if the condition is false, it will terminate the for block. Okay, so now let us just visualize this theoretical assumption in a programmatical way. So now let me just remove this up, and I'm just adding the keyword called as an for, and I'm initializing some value. So now let's say I am just giving int c is equal to 0, and then we are going to check the condition. I stating that c less than, so a dot length, and then I'm giving the increment operator. As we have initialized the variable as c, so we should give it as c plus plus, and then we need to create the block for the for loop, and inside which I'm adding the sysout statement. So here I am giving a of c. Okay, so I'm just giving the a of c. So now in order to understand the program, I'm adding the debug points and I'm running in a debugger mode so that like we can physically visualize so what is happening. So now let us run in the debugger mode. So like we have initialized the value of c as 0. So the value of c will be 0 and the length will be kind of an 4. Okay. So like you could see, so initially, so like we are getting the length as 4 and the value of c will be 0. So like 0 less than 4. Okay. So obviously the condition is true. So if the condition is true, if I resume the program, it will step into the particular block. So because like here the condition is true, it is going to compare like 0 less than 4. So the 0 less than 4 is kind of untrue. As the condition is true, it is stepping into the for block and the value of c will be remains 0, and here the a of 0 indicates 45, so it is printing the output as a 45. Okay, so now if I resume the program, so during my next run, so what happened, the increment operator will increase the value of c. So the value of c will become 1. So when it is of 1, it will compare 1 less than 4. So the condition will be true and it will be step into the program. So you could see, so now the value of c is changed to 1. So which means the increment operator has added plus 1 to the initialized value. So 1 less than 4, the condition is true and it is stepping into the block, and here it will be passing the value called as an a of 1. So a of 1 indicates the 78 and the 78 will be printed in the console. And during the next run, so what happened, so the value of c will be changed, which means the increment operator will add plus 1. So 1 plus 1 it will become a 2. So now it will check the condition. So like 2 less than 4. So again the condition is true. So whenever the condition is true, it will step into the particular block, and here the index value of the c will be kind of an 2 and c of 2 will be 90 and it will print the 90. In similar way, during the next run it will increase by the 3. So now 3 less than 4, the condition is true, and a of 3 it indicates it is of an 23, it will print the output as 23. Now during this run, again the increment operator will increase the value of c by 1, but the value of c will become as a 4. So it will check 4 less than 4. So obviously here the condition will become false because 4 is equal to 4. So whenever the condition is false, it will terminate the program. If I resume the program, it won't step into the for loop. It will terminate the program and we could see the corresponding output called as in 45, 78, 90 and 23. So the loop will continue to run so till it satisfy the conditions. So whenever the condition is satisfied, the particular loop will execute. Whenever the condition is not satisfied, the condition is false, so it will terminate the program. So in other example, I can take the string as an example. So I'm just creating the string array. So let it be like string d is equal to, I'm just providing two name. Okay, so learn and then more. So you know the length is going to be 2. So length is 2 and the index value is like kind of 0 comma 1. So now we are going to iterate the string value with the help of the loop. So what is the syntax of the loop? We may use for. Okay, so we need to initialize the value. Let's say I am just initializing int h is equal to 0, and then we need to check for the condition. So we need to set the condition. I am just setting h less than. Okay, we need to calculate the length. How we can calculate the length? So with the help of the inbuilt method, so as we need to calculate the length of the string, the variable name of the string array is d. I can say d dot length, and then like we need to give the increment operator h plus plus, and then we need to create a block, and in which like I'm adding the sysout statement like d of h. because like we are passing the index value with the help of the h. So now I'm adding the debug points in line number 16 and 18. So now let me just try to run the program in a debugger mode. Okay. So if I run in a debugger mode, so like it is passing the d value as learn and more. Obviously the length will be like kind of in 2, and initially the value of h will be 0. So 0 less than 2. Here the condition is true. So whenever the condition is true, it will step into the loop. So the value of h is 0 and it will pass d of 0. So d of 0 indicates the learn and it will print the learn. And during the next run, so what happened, the increment operator will increase the value of h by plus 1. So now the value of 0 will change from 0 to 1. So now it will be like kind of an 1. So what is the value which is present in the first index? So d of 1 is kind of a learn more. Now during next run, now the value of h will be like 1 plus 1, it will become 2. But when it check for the condition, it says 2 less than 2 because length is 2, right? So then 2 less than 2, the condition will fail and the program will terminate. Now you could see it has iterated the value of the first loop as well as it has iterated the value of the second loop. So the loop will purely execute based upon the condition, which means like we are doing the repetitive action in this particular line. So whenever the repetitive action comes into the picture, like we will be always using the loops. Okay, and we will be seeing the practical implementation. So how we are going to integrate this loops in the Selenium in the further session. So till this point, does anyone have any doubt?